for fresh and trending news stories. We begin the African news from the story just over a week ago after season power. Guinea-Bissau's military says it has established a National Transitional Council to prepare the instruments of transition and oversee transitional governing bodies and their activities. However, the resolution did not specify how council members will be selected. The military coup came 3 days after a presidential election, which the two main contenders claimed to have won. The army said it would also draft a transitional charter to restore constitutional legality in the country. In a third resolution, the junta justified November's coup, saying it had a duty to act and change the constitutional order by force, given that the political situation could degenerate into an ethnic civil war. Moving on, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, has declared a state of emergency in the region following the political instability that has shaken it. ECOWAS Commission President Omar Touré said at a ministerial level meeting in the Nigerian capital Abuja that events of the last few weeks have shown the imperative of serious introspection on the future of the region's democracy and the urgent need to invest in the security of the community. He noted that elections have become a major trigger of instability in the community. The announcement came after a coup attempt in Benin Republic last weekend, which followed a successive coup in Guinea-Bissau. Apart from fresh military intervention, Toure cited several key risks, including non-compliance with transition norms in Guinea, eroding electoral inclusivity, rising influence of terrorists and criminal networks, and mounting geopolitical pressures on member states' diplomacy and coercion. He called for more frequent meetings, urging ECOWAS to pool its resources to confront the threats of terrorism and banditry, which he said operates without respect for territorial boundaries. Away from that, the International Contact Group for the Great Lakes, that's the ICG, has expressed what it called a profound concern regarding the renewed violence in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Chaired by Germany and including the United States, the European Union, the United Kingdom, and others, the ICG focused on the new offensive by the March 23rd movement, that's the M23, around Uvira in South Kivu. It's warned that the fighting has a destabilizing potential for the entire region, even as it expressed particular alarm at the increased use of attack and suicide drones in the conflict, calling it a significant escalation that poses an acute risk of civilian populations. The ICG urged the M23 rebels and the Rwandan Defense Force, that's the RDF, to immediately halt offensive operations in eastern Congo. It called on the RDF to withdraw from the region and demanded that the M23 return to its position and uphold its commitments to the Declaration of Principles that was signed in Doha on the 19th of July 2025. Meanwhile, in a counterclaim, Rwanda has accused the Democratic Republic of Congo and Burundi of deliberately violating a ceasefire in eastern DRC days after the signing of a peace agreement in Washington. Rwandan-backed M23 fighters entered the strategic city of Uvira near the Burundian border late Tuesday, as it became the latest major settlement to fall in the mineral-rich region that has been plagued by decades of conflict. Thousands of civilians and scores of Congolese soldiers have fled across the border into Burundi, which has sent troops to help the DRC fight the Kigali-backed M23 and its Rwandan allies, according to the military sources. In a statement on X, Rwandan Foreign Ministry said that recent violations cannot be placed on Rwanda, adding that the Congolese army and the Burundian army had been systematically bombing civilian villages close to the Rwandan border using fighter jets and attack drones. The statement cited the AFC M23 as saying it has been forced to counter the attack, adding that these deliberate violations of recently negotiated agreements constitute serious obstacles to peace. From that story, we'll move straight to Tanzania, where President Samir Hassan of Tanzania has urged civilians to uphold peace, unity, and solidarity as the nation marks its 64th independence anniversary with clemency to over 1,000 prisoners. In a message on social media, President Hassan said the benefits of freedom were still evident and reminded Tanzanians of their responsibility to protect national values. Meanwhile, the government canceled the traditional Independence Day celebration as officials sought to prevent protests called in response to alleged killings and disappearance after October's disputed presidential elections. The United Nations estimated that hundreds were killed, while opposition groups claimed over 1,000 deaths. The government, which reacted with a 5-day internet shutdown, is yet to release an official death toll. The tension stems from the October 29 presidential election, in which President Hassan was declared winner with 98% of the vote. Opposition parties immediately rejected the announced result as fraud after key candidates were disqualified. And from Tanzania, we'll move straight to Sudan, where the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, Filippo Grandi, has warned that advances by the paramilitary rapid support forces in Sudan could trigger another exodus across the country's borders. The RSF took over the fourth city of Al Fashir in late October in one of its biggest gains of the 2.5-year war with Sudan's army. This month, advances have continued eastward into the Kordofan region as the RSF seized the country's biggest oil field. Grandi said that most of the estimated 40,000 persons that the UN says have been displaced by the latest violence in Kordofan, a region comprised of 3 states in central and southern Sudan, have sought refuge within the country. However, he noted that this could change if violence spread to a large city like El Obeid. According to reports, the war has already displaced nearly 12 million people, including 4.3 million who have fled across borders to Chad, South Sudan, and elsewhere in the world's biggest displacement crisis. In another development, the International Organization for Migration, that's the IOM, has commended Turkey for providing 30,000 family tents in support of people displaced by conflicts across Sudan. The IOM said it was the largest in-kind shelter donation it has ever received for the country. According to the IOM Director General, Amy Pope, the contribution was both timely and deeply appreciated, as so many families in Sudan were living without even the most basic protection. He explained that this support will enable IOM and its partners to expand their shelter response and reach families that have lost nearly everything, giving them a safer place to stay and a small measure of security as they rebuild their lives. The donation comes as Sudan faces one of the world's most severe humanitarian emergencies, according to the agency, adding that some 11.6 million persons urgently need shelter, yet only 9.4% of requirements under the humanitarian needs and response plan are currently funded. Meanwhile, the International Criminal Court, that's the ICC, has sentenced Sudanese militia leader Ali Abd al-Rahman to 20 years in prison for the atrocities he committed during the Darfur civil war over 2 decades ago. Known as Kushiao, he had been convicted in October under 27 counts of war crimes and crimes against humanity in the Darfur region. He had been a leader of the government-backed Janjaweed. I beg your pardon, Janjaweed. The militia was responsible for killing hundreds of thousands of people and terrorizing non-Arab communities in Darfur between 2003 and 2004. During his trial, survivors recounted villages being burned, men and women being slaughtered, and women being forced into sexual slavery. According to Justice Joanna Comer, Kushab not only ordered these crimes, but personally carried out some aimed at wiping out and sweeping away non Arab tribes. The ICC said the sentence served both retribution and deterrence, particularly given the ongoing violence in Darfur, where many former Janjaweed fighters now operate within the Rapid Support Forces, that's the RSF. Outstanding warrants still targets other Sudanese officials, including former President Omar al-Bashir. You're still watching the African news right here on Voice of the People television. We'll go straight to the analysis segment of the news. And joining us now to make sense of these stories and more is Barrister Darlington Agumo. Barrister Darlington is a legal practitioner right here in Nigeria and also a public and political affairs analyst and commentator. Barrister, a very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, David, and how are you?
I'm fine, very well, thank you. How are you doing as well, Barrister?
I'm okay.
Well, let's get to these stories and, of course, start the analysis proper. The ICC clearly has sentenced Al Rahman to 20 years in prison for the atrocities he committed in over 2 decades ago. Of course, popularly known as Kushiab, have been convicted in October on the 27 counts of war crimes and, of course, crimes against humanity in the Darfur region between 2003 and 2004. First, what do you make of these 20 years sentence by the ICC on Kujab?
He deserves it and even more.
Okay.
The people he killed now, will they come alive? Will they come back alive? And that is what I've been telling you about this senseless war in Sudan. The two leaders we once faced this ICC. I'm not joking because it is a senseless war. Anybody who will support whatever is going on today for whatever it is, that person does not love humanity.
Now, Barrister, you did say that he deserved it. And of course, Kujab, yes, have been sentenced to 20 years in prison. But does that 20-year term with, of course, detention credit, satisfactory survival, demands for justice, if not, how much of restorative, reparative, and of course, memorial measures will accompany criminal accountability to preventing re-traumatization in this situation?
By the time he spent 20 years in detention, I think when he come back, he will be a new person.
Okay.
Because what? He will have become so old to fight any other war. Is that not part of the deterrent? They say the sentence is for deterrent and retributive. And so the people he murdered, they will now find peace wherever they are, that yes, justice has been served.
But Barrister, looking at this same conversation, right? The group that which he powered at the time, the Janjaweed group, have found their way to the RSF.
Yes.
So that again is an expansive terror team that should carefully be put to book. Don't you think?
The leadership of the terror group will one by one get their day with the ICC. It is turn by turn. This Al-Mahad or whatever, it will not be the last and the first person. So one by one, all of them will go there. And that is the truth. In fact, with what happened now, these other people, they will now be very cautious in what they are doing because Big Brother ICC is watching. That's the truth, because you don't go into battle with civilians as your your play, whatever. You use them as your pawn. You use them as the victim. You know, you rape women, kill children, wiping out an entire ethnic group because you are fighting war. That is a crime against humanity. So they will face it since they don't want to listen or hear. That's the truth.
Well, Barrister, as it stands, the ICC also is targeting former Sudanese officials, including former President Omar al-Bashir.
Sure, yeah.
Now, as it stands, should, of course, this kind of targets still remain in Sudan, and of course, the war that is ongoing in Sudan, would there be a full capture of this kind of individuals who, again, the ICC has their full eagle eye on?
Yeah. It's a matter of time before all of them will stray out of Sudan. They won't even know when they will be captured. As long as they have been declared wanted, they will get to them. Al-Bashir cannot leave Sudan today because he's a wanted person by ICC. It's on record. So one by one, each of them will answer ICC and they will face the law. That is why that body was created. Because I've always been saying that the war in Sudan is senseless. It has become the worst humanitarian crisis in the entire world. Look at the refugee situation there, over 11 million. That is huge. That is huge. You can't just begin to imagine what people are going through. Because two foolish men decided to fight an ego war. Ego war that will not benefit themselves or their people. And you are telling me that the world should watch while this is going on.
Now, Barrister, what immediate mechanism can force the RSF and, of course, the SAF commanders to change battlefield behavior, judging from these kind of sentence right now?
Look, they should place embargo on arms supply to both parties. The US, the entire world should place embargo to the two warring parties.
But there are still some smuggling part of these arms,
yes,
which these people find a way to get.
If they want to stop it, they will stop it. Telling their neighbors, you understand? If the UN, bring out a strong measure and then cut off the supply link, I'm sure this war will end in no time.
Now, Barrister, let's talk about the sentencing adequacy. Some rights advocates have said, look, there should be more longer terms given to such crimes that have been committed. What's your position with this kind of advocacy? Because this, again, is a war against humanity and, of course, a crime against humanity. This sentence, in your opinion, does it look light and, of course, should be extended?
At that level, at the level of ICC, they cannot order the killing of anybody except to give you maximum sentence. That is what I know they do. So, 20 years, yes, they have looked at the situation and all that, the level of involvement. If somebody is put away for 20 years, what is not left of his life? Because I know that man must go up to 50 years or so.
Right.
So by the time they will come back, I think it will be a repented person or something. That's what I think. So, yes, if all of them can be given 20 years, it will act as a deterrent.
All right, then, let's get to another story. Interestingly, Barrister, as it stands, the International Organization for Migration have, of course, commended Turkey for clearly supporting the Sudanese situation with about 30,000 family tents, again, for displaced person. That is some commendable move by, of course, almost all quarters. But can this level of support be seen across Europe, particularly in a country like Sudan that have over 11 million still displaced and no homes?
Who supply the family tent?
Turkey.
Yes. If there are no strings attached, it's okay. If there are no strings attached.
You think there's any level of strings attached?
I just don't know. That's why I say if, because these people, They always take advantage of warring African nations. You think they came for your help, they are looking for something from you. So if it was given out of their magnanimity and all that, why not? But the last time I checked, Turkey is still battling with that devastating earthquake that happened. They have not recovered from it. So if they are genuinely trying to help, why not? If not, other nations will follow suit, because Sudan is the worst humanitarian crisis in the world today. Over 11 million people.
Right.
That is not a joke.
I mean, it's the most devastating displacement crisis in the world, Barrister.
I am telling you.
But then again, Barrister, how can agencies prevent this tent distribution from becoming static encampments, which again has been concerns of some quarters, even in Sudan, over such gifts items that have been given
in fact,
in the past?
Yes, it is, yes, because this one is a tent.
Right. And one of the biggest, to be precise, when it comes to family tent.
Yes, it's good, because at least this one, nobody will abuse it or to go and resell it. Nobody will sell it anywhere.
But there are concerns, Barrister, about the fact that some of the equipment and, of course, safeguard equipment that were given to these refugees were not given to them and were being sold.
Maybe, if you can afford it, this type of thing, somebody will the government may want to make money out of it. If there's
in this kind of situation, still make money out of it?
Well, that is the way they feel. That is the way. But left to me, I would have said, look, distribute this into the people, because you and I know that it can never go around.
Yes, 30,000.
It can never go around. It is like a drop in the ocean of need. It will never go around. So for whatever reason they are selling it, I don't know. I don't know the agreement they had with Turkey. But bringing it is a welcome development. At least it is circulating within Sudan, with the warring parties and all that.
All right.
So if they can give it to the people, maybe it will help to ameliorate a very serious situation. Imagine 11 women. Where would they even stay? Which area would they occupy? Using the toiletries, sanitation issue and all that. Look, I don't want to imagine this in serious. I don't want to.
Now, this again is a major concern, really, Barrister, because yes, we're talking about it and we're hoping Africa gets better from these kind of conversations that we're having. Again, if just 9.4% of shelter needs are funded, where would they get 90.6% in this mix?
That means some people will even die in the IDP camp because of the harsh elements. I mean, some people just die in that. They won't even give you the number or the figure. They won't. People will be dying there on daily basis. You know what it means to be in an IDP camp, refugee situation. You don't have any means of survival. The ration they give out on daily basis will not go around. It will be the struggle for the fittest, just to get rations. UN cannot manage this because it's so huge. Seriously, the world should come to the aid of Sudanese refugees, please. It's a serious situation. Serious. The world has never had it so bad. They had never had it so bad. 11 million people. Do you know the number we are talking about here? How many donations and how many will go around on daily basis to keep these people alive? The world should come to the aid of these people immediately, like yesterday.
Well, Barrister, again, there are still concerns, really, because we hear that the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, I'm talking about Filippo Grandi, has warned that advances by the paramilitary rapid support forces in Sudan could still trigger another exodus off the country's border. Again, we're talking about stopping the war, the needless war, to say, so to say, and still the RSF is not shelving the sword. What can be done on the part of world power in supporting the Sudanese crisis, Barrister?
That's what I've said here. Look, cut off this military.
Arms deal?
Sorry?
Arms deal?
Yes, cut off these supplies and then go after the leaders. Go after the leaders. That is the only way. By the time you cut off the leaders that are controlling these troops, things will die down. I'm telling you. Go after, tell them, you don't even need to make it, start pleading with them. No, go after them. The UN can send their forces into Sudan to go and pick these people. I'm not joking, because there is no way these people will stop except you take drastic action.
Now, Barrister, the World Bank projection has flagged structural scarring if oil revenues collapse and, of course, trade routes fragment. As it stands, Barrister, what immediate macro stabilizers, I'm talking about currency support, humanitarian cash, gains and corridors, can be deployed in Sudan to even help ameliorate the economy in the minutest of way to get the economy working, and of course the people still get some things from government?
The only way there can be semblance of economic activities is for the whole world to go into Sudan and make sure they talk sense into the warring parties. Every war end up at the what? Conference hall, at the what? Discussion table. Every war. And so, instead of waiting and wasting time, they should move in to stop the crisis that is looming. I mean, it will not be long before the body counts will start. I don't know how long this refugee situation will hold on. It's really there. It's really a dire situation.
Truly,
so, yes.
It is.
So let it not be like Rwanda, that the UN was there when the massacre started. We are saying it now. They should listen. The world has a duty to protect civilians in Sudan.
Well, Barrister, I would want to still stay with you on that particular situation, and I'd like to talk about institutions, basically the African Union. Strong institutions like the African Union. I'm still going to go to the part of the ECOWAS, who again have sent several troops to Benin Republic, but on the part of the African Union, they are not being vocal enough in the Sudan situation. How much of a major indictment is that as an institution?
I've told you before, this principle of sovereignty.
Yes.
They should tamper with it, seriously. In Sudan, they need to tamper with it.
But if tampered with, wouldn't that become a crime?
It doesn't matter. Nobody will blame anybody to going to stop this genocide that's going on. Because I can see genocide here. Seriously. What is going on in Sudan is probably genocide. And so if the world want to stop it, they can. You don't begin to respect this sovereignty that has not given us any benefit. When they went to the Republic of Benin, was it not a phone call that was made? Was anybody saying, no, it's the sovereignty of a state, we cannot do that, we cannot do this?
Well, there was a call in that regard, don't you think, Barrister?
Yes, it was a call. And so if you are waiting for the people of Sudan, either of the warring parties to make the same call, it may not come up, because I told you here, this is an ego war.
Right.
So such a war, the warring party don't give up. Because even if the last man is standing, he will still be pretending as if he's strong and all that. So that is why I said that the world should move in and save Sudan from itself. If these 11 million human beings were to go out of circulation, how will you manage the calamity? How will you manage the calamity? Then the whole world will now come and say it is a huge crisis, this and that. You now begin to talk on how to bury human beings. Is that what you're waiting for?
Oh, well, we hope it doesn't degenerate to that. But again, you did mention the situation in Benin Republic, which is going to lead us to this particular conversation about the Economic Community of West African States declaring a state of emergency in the region, of course, following the political instability that has shaken the region. Barrister, what's your position with the fact that President of the Commission, I'm talking about Omar Toure, has said that the group is having to carefully look at some situation, and of course, it's imperative that there is serious introspection on the future of the region's democracy. What's your position with this, Barrister?
They are not serious. David, go and tell those people that I said they are not serious.
Even ECOWAS is not
Do
serious.
they need this coup to begin to think right about democracy? So they didn't know what democracy is all about before. When have they declared state of emergency on bad leadership in Africa? When have they declared the state of emergency on bad leadership? Or are they not seeing it? Are they not seeing what some of their members are doing? Truncating the constitution, truncating democracy. Are they not seeing it? They will not talk. So all this while that their members are truncating democracy in their states, what did they do? They are talking of coup. Is it not this leader that first of all carried out a coup against their people by truncating the constitutional provisions in their constitution, thwarting democracy and all that? When they were doing it, they never knew that something would give, Abi. They never knew. They never knew. Please, they were the one that first carried out this coup before the military replied them. That's the truth. Why would they not allow electoral act to follow the due process? Why would they not allow it? Somebody will stay in office, all of a sudden they woke up and say he's changing the constitution. They want to stay there forever.
Well, Barrister, the fact that ECOWAS is talking now is on one part, but some quarters have said if elections are the major trigger that, of course, started all of these kind of coup and all of that, what major concrete reforms have ECOWAS even had in the past decade to checkmate some of these kind of acts?
They have not done
by members.
They're only doing talking shop. You know, they go there for talk shop. Talk, no action. You cannot tell me that they were not aware of what some of their members are doing. Have they reprimanded any of them and said, look, what you are doing is not proper? They will say you are interfering in their internal affairs. Is that not true? And so it's internal affairs. So why are they making noise? The people that carry that they coup, they are members of that country now.
Well,
it's internal affairs.
Well, Barrister, interestingly, sanctions have been given even before now. And of course, the juntas have still not returned back to democracy.
Yes, they are not interested. Yes, of course, they are not interested.
What do you think is leading to all of this?
Because they are tired. They are tired of the civilian and their rascality. Yes, they are tired. Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, they are tired. In fact, they are not interested in what you are saying. Have they not been surviving all these years that you place sanction on them? In the case of Nigeria, they even got tired of place and now say we are forgiving you. They open up their airspace for Nigeria to pass. They too, they have something that they can use now.
Barrister, why do you think ECOWAS is not talking about this part of governments tampering with constitutions to suit them, to wanting to making them stay in power for the longest of time? Why do you think they've not been able to have a voice on that part?
Because all of them are guilty. All of them are guilty of the same offense. All of them. In fact, apart from that, how about corruption, stealing of money that belongs to the state? Is there any of them that is not guilty? They all have foreign investment, foreign bank account where they dump the country's money. Is that not a fact? Mention any of them that have not stolen money from their country. So that's why when this thing happens, they feel reluctant in talking about it. All of them are guilty of the same offense. If you sit down and calculate the resources of Africa that these evil men have taken to the Western world to go and keep it there, David, you will cry for Africa. To tell you how wicked these people are. I am using even that of Nigeria as an example. As I talk to you today, we are looking for 210 trillion naira. David, the 210, and the NNPC is telling us that the money is not missing, it was misplaced. You misplaced 210 trillion naira. David, how wicked can somebody be, for God's sake? And now the explanation, part of the expenditure of that money is that 17 trillion was used to man the oil pipeline in 1 year.
Well, Barrister, it's interesting you did mention Nigeria.
In 1 year.
And I'm going to come
These are part of the example that ECOWAS is not looking at. You steal the people blind. You steal the country blind without thinking of the people that are suffering because of what you have done. Without conscience. What do you need all that money for God's sake? What do you need it for? Money that most of them will not even see. They will die and the money will remain over there in the Western world. That's the only place they can keep such money. When they die, that money, Nigeria will never recover it again, David. And so with all African nations. In fact, in that of DRC, Mobutu Sese Seko said that before him there is no Zaire, after him there will be no Zaire. And it happened like that. Since that man did all that he did with Shombe and this other man, Patrice Lumumba, that place has never seen peace. I mean, for 1 day, it has never seen peace. Meanwhile, all their resources are in the Western world. Is that not wickedness?
But then on the part of ECOWAS, Barrister, do you think that ECOWAS should and can do better than what they're doing presently? Because there's also the fact that the region needs a strong command to help man insecurity and deal with insecurity as well. Do you think that they can achieve this? Owing to the fact that the Sahelian states are still there, and then there will still be the need for funding for this joint command. What's your position on that as well?
Look, if they mean it, they can do it. But is there a political will? There's no political will because some of these commands may checkmate some of these countries and what they are doing. So they wouldn't want it. That's the truth. They wouldn't want it. That is just the major issue here. All of them want to be so independent that nobody can touch it. So they wouldn't want any strong body that will be, checkmating them. That is just it. That's why it cannot work.
Barrister, as it stands, if ECOWAS cannot guarantee a credible electoral inclusivity region-wide, why do you think investor donors or even citizens will plunge their money into the region to make it better?
That's why they are not coming, and they will not come. That's why Africa is a consumption continent. We consume what the Western world produces. Is that not true? China is producing for the whole of Africa, and that's why they are rich. All we are consuming here, 80% is from the outside Africa, because we are not producing anything. All of them depend on production from China, India, America, UK, all of them. We consume what they produce outside here. That is why your money is going over there. Are you not using money to buy all these things?
Anyways, Barrister, because of our time, really, in one sentence or maybe in 30 seconds, the peace agreement signed between the DRC and, of course, Rwanda in Washington seem to be shaky because the M23 rebel, again, have started their deal, their fighting somewhere around Uvira in South Kivu. What's the position?
I told you that Donald Trump don't waste his time because these people, they are in fact, they are not satisfied yet.
Even though Barrister, Washington also did declare that there are some business deal between the U.S. and Rwanda, and of course DRC.
Yes.
You think that is in any way not quelling the fighting?
It cannot, because the other party, the M23 rebels, they are not getting what they are looking for. They want to take over DRC.
Is it the possibility that Donald Trump did not clearly look at the root cause of this situation, but rather the face value?
He was interested in making a deal where it will favor him. That's the truth. I have told anybody who cares to listen, look, you don't discuss peace with terrorists, because that's what that M23 rebels represent. They are terrorists. They don't have a country. They are mercenaries. Rwanda is just using them to destabilize DRC. And I think everybody should have seen it from that light, instead of trying to make peace with them. On what ground?
All right.
Are they a government?
All right, then, Barrister, because of our time, really, this is where we have to draw anchor on the analysis segment of the African News. I want to say a big thank you to Barrister Darlington, who is a legal practitioner right here in Nigeria, and of course, a public and political affairs analyst and commentator. Barrister, thank you so very much for being here.
It's my pleasure.
We'll take a very short break right now. When we return, more stories on the African news will be up next. Please. All right, glad to have you back. It is still the African news right here on Voice of the People television. Now to more stories. On a bit of a sad news, no fewer than 19 persons were killed and 16 injured early on Wednesday after two buildings collapsed in Fez, one of Morocco's oldest cities. Reports say the blocks had shown signs of neglect for some time. Local authorities in the Fez prefecture said that two artisan four-story buildings collapsed overnight. They disclosed that buildings, which were in the Al Mustabak neighborhood, were inhabited by 8 families. They added that as soon as they were informed of the incidents, local authorities, security services, and civil protection units moved to the scene and immediately began search and rescue operations. A former capital dating back to the 18th century and the country's third most populous city, Fez was caught up in a wave of protests against the government 2 months ago over deteriorating living conditions and poor public services. From Morocco, we'll go straight to Kenya, where President William Ruto has stated his commitment to safeguarding Kenya's interests under its newly announced pact with the United States, pledging that neither foreign governments or any other entity will exploit Kenyans. Speaking during the 12th National and County Government Coordinating Summit public event, President Ruto vowed that no government or entity will take advantage of Kenyans as long as he is president, highlighting that his administration is focused on ensuring mutual benefits in international agreements. According to the government, the pact, which is part of ongoing diplomatic efforts to enhance economic growth, security collaborations, and technology transfer, aligns with Kenya's strategic vision to attract investment while protecting domestic industries and citizens' livelihood. To that end, Ruto assured that the government will maintain transparency and accountability in implementing all aspects of the partnership while holding foreign partners to the highest standards of cooperation. Moving on, the United Nations Cultural Agency, that's UNESCO, has recognized kashri, a spicy dish of lentils, rice, and pasta available at countless Egyptian food stores as a cultural treasure from on Wednesday, December the 10th, 2025. This comes as Cairo makes a broad push to promote its cultural and historical identity abroad. Egypt's nomination of kashri for UNESCO's Intangible Cultural Heritage List comes a little over a month after its opening for a sprawling new antique museum, another move that officials hope will highlight the country's rich history and lure more tourists. A popular legend claims that kashri originated in northern India and was brought to Egypt by soldiers during the British occupation. However, food researcher and archaeobotanist Hala Barakat said the dish's origin can be traced through a far-flung, millennial-old lineage of migration, trade, and conquest. And from that particular story, we'll move straight to talking African business. Kenya's central bank has lowered its benchmark lending rates by 25% basis points to 9.2%, marking its ninth consecutive rate cut. Policymaker says the move opens more room to stimulate bank lending to the private sector. The bank said the decision supports ongoing efforts to strengthen economic activities without disrupting price stability. It added that inflation expectations remain well anchored and the exchange rate stable. November inflation stood at 4.5%, slightly down from 4.6% in October. The figure sits comfortably within the bank's 2.5% to 7.5% target range. Officials say further easing is possible if economic conditions require it. Analysts believe the central bank's steady rate cut reflects its confidence in Kenya's near-term economic outlook. Still talking African business, South Africa is actively lobbying to ensure it stays included in any extension of the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA. Trade Ministry spokesperson Camille Ali said the country is pushing for the initiative to continue in its current form. The comments come after U.S. Trade Representative Jamison Greer told a Senate subcommittee that the Trump administration is open to a one-year extension. Greer added that South Africa is seen as a unique case and could potentially be excluded if Congress requests it. South African officials say they remain committed to securing their inclusion, emphasizing the importance of AGOA for trade and economic ties with the United States. And to wrap up the African news, we'll go straight talking some African sports. Uganda and Ethiopia have booked their sports in next year's CAF African Schools Football Championship after topping the CESAFA qualifiers. Both sides impressed in tightly contested matches at St. Mary's Stadium in Kitende. Uganda edged Ethiopia 3-2 on penalties in the boys' final after a goalless draw, while Tanzania beat Burundi to take the bronze. Uganda's top scorer, Nabil Kajuma, says the victory is a reward for the team's hard work. In the girls' category, Tanzania defeated Ethiopia 5-4 on penalties, and Uganda finished third. The winning schools will also receive cash prizes set aside for development projects back home. FIFA Vice President Justus Magisha says hosting the event for the second time is a major pride for Uganda. The qualifiers featured teams from 8 countries across the CECAFA region. And with that sports story, we've come to the end of African News right here on Voice of the People Television. Do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel. On YouTube, we are at Voice of the People TV, and on all other social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. Thank you so very much for being a part of this broadcast. I am David Edwin. Do have a good afternoon.
My name is Tao Familoni, and here's to VOP TV. Keep watching, stay tuned, do not touch that dial.
Arararara, my name is Made Kuti, and you're watching VOP TV. Keep watching.
Welcome, my name is Zika Davis. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, boys, viewers, everybody, boys and girls. This is VOP TV. Do you know what that means? Voice of the People TV. You don't have a voice, don't come here. You better make sure your voice is heard.
This is Health Check, your weekly guide to better living, smarter choices, and trusted answers. From everyday wellness to urgent health issues, we've got you covered. Health Check, only on Voice of the People Television, where your health has a voice.
To know the happenings in the maritime sector,